It's the Real Estate Podcast, brought to you by ANZ Home Loans for financial well-beings.
And welcome back to another weekend that has dropped around Australia and to the Real Estate Breakfast, your Aussie Property Knowledge Bank, talking all about local and national trends. Remember, too, we are not a real estate company, which means that we can talk to hundreds of real estate professionals each year for that unbiased piece of real estate commentary in every corner of the Aussie property market. And the reason that I do stress that is yesterday we got an email from Sandy. Good morning to you, Sandy. I know that you're listening there in Double Bay. You asked a simple question: what real estate company do I work with, because you wanted to list your property with me. Of course, I am not a real estate agent. I'm a little bit worried, Sandy, if I sound like a real estate agent. No offence to all the real estate agents that are tuned in right now. Yes, it's fair to say that I have traded in lots of properties, but my background is not real estate, Sandy. It is radio. I used to, in fact, own and operate radio stations before getting into the film industry and then making a couple of feature films. Then what happened? COVID came along, and how many of us pivoted into doing something new, which is why we set up the Real Estate Podcast. And with nearly 1,500 episodes, here we are, still going. And a reminder, you can leave us a voice message. If you listen to us outside of Australia, if you're an expat, we would love to hear from you. Well, it's a Saturday, November the 29th. Let's go to the Blue Mountains right now and catch up with Paul O'Riordan. He is the principal of O'Riordan Real Estate. And good morning to you, Paul. Welcome back to the Real Estate Breakfast. I'm a little bit worried that I might be sounding like a real estate agent.
What a profound compliment. Well spotted, Sandy. You should really take that to heart, and I think that's a brilliant thing to have been labelled with. If you're into films and filmmaking, I'm sure every real estate agent that may be listening would have a little story of particular experiences that real estate agents have had. And I think a movie would be a great thing, not a high-end, big listing one, which is similar to the TV shows that exist, but a real nuts and bolts movie about real estate. I think it'd be brilliant.
Like a comedy, because I could do that. There's plenty of material around.
You couldn't write them for comedy. They are quite hilarious, different people with different experiences. And I'm sure, as I mentioned, every real estate agent listening would have a particular story that would be funny enough to make a very comical movie about real estate. So food for thought there, mate. You should maybe look into that one.
Well, get in touch with us if you've got some of those ideas. Now, if you are looking to sell your home, what we're going to be talking about this morning is which agent do you choose from? You can't choose me. You've got to choose a real estate agent. Do you list with a big name franchise? This is a good question. Or do you trust a boutique local agency? Does the brand even matter anymore, especially when technology and property portals seem to level the playing field? Do you agree with that or not? And do buyers actually care who's selling the home, or are they just focused on the property itself and let's get the best possible price? It's relevant as we look ahead to next year, with vendors after the holiday break saying to themselves, let's do it. Let's list and sell and move on to greener pastures. So, Paul, coming back to that question, are buyers searching for brands or simply homes that fit their needs?
Craig, buyers almost never search by brand. They search for the property, the price, the location and features. Buyers care a lot more about whether the home suits their needs, whether the guide is realistic, and so not under or overquoted, how responsive the agent is, and how clear and easy it is to obtain information about the property. The brand behind the listing barely registers in their decision. Strong reviews, clear communication, reputation for honesty carry far more weight than a national name.
It's interesting, the reviews, because I guess over the last 10 years, that has really just mushroomed out, hasn't it, when it comes to reviewing. they do look for, giving as best service as possible. Otherwise, you're not going to be reviewed favourably. So it's a bit of a net catcher for people that are trying to be a little bit shonky. That kind of leads me into the second thought, and that is, how does a boutique agency's service differ from a large franchise?
The big franchises, a lot of the marketing is templated and very system driven. It's very efficient, but not always personal. There can often be a fair bit of delegation too. Someone else running the open, someone else again following up buyers, and vendors can end up feeling like they're just part of a process rather than truly looked after. On the boutique agency side, the experience is entirely different. Instead of a fragmented process, clients receive a highly hands-on approach from start to finish. The same dedicated agent attends, crafts the marketing, runs every open home, speaks with every buyer, delivers all the feedback personally, communicates with the solicitors, and handles the negotiation right through to settlement. So boutique agencies have the opportunity to really prioritise quality over quantity, and that really shows in the final result.
When it comes to boutique agencies, fair to say that probably since post-COVID, you see a lot of them popping up. And then maybe pre-COVID, you had a lot of these agents that were performing really well, and they decided, look, I don't want to get into a franchise. I just want my own agency. And that's something that you would have seen yourself firsthand.
Absolutely, yeah. Look, I was with a big national brand, a very big national brand for about 12 odd years. And COVID really highlighted the need for a sales agent not to have an office. So having that home base with the office really isn't as big a deal. The entry level to get in and the overheads to begin your own boutique agency are a lot smaller, but you can operate just as effectively, I'd argue even more effectively, running your own ship.
Yeah, and if you're looking at actually starting your own boutique real estate agency, we would love to hear from you. Get in touch. The email address, as always, is myrealestatepodcast@gmail.com. And if you are thinking of getting into real estate, coming up next Tuesday, we're going to be running over some of the things that you need to think about. Perhaps 2026 is the year that you've said, yes, I'm going to do that. I'm going to become a real estate agent, something that I am not, Sandy. All right, when we come back, we'll continue the conversation with Paul in the Blue Mountains, and we'll talk about what vendors really look for when reviewing agents. That is coming up next.
From the emotion of property, the economic inflation, managing your expectations, lack of stock, price growth, construction appetite, days on the market. Stay informed with us and know your property.
And right now it is time for another property tip. And recently we were talking to Michelle May there in Sydney. She's a buyer's agent. And you've got a really good one for us this morning. Tell us about your property tip.
Okay, so the one thing you need to do is throw price guides out of the window. Do not look at price guides when you're looking to purchase a property. The only section you need to be looking at is the sold section on the real estate portals. Put in your budget, put in your area that you want to be in, even look at the map function. Don't look at anything else and see what you could have bought in the last 2 months. In a rising market, it's really important not to go back too long. And there'll be a running theme. So it may be that in your budget, you can buy 3 bedrooms with off-street parking, or you may only be able to buy a 2-bedroom house in a better street. So don't give in to the wishful thinking, because that is what sales marketing campaigns are all about. But just educate yourself in the sold section and then target those kinds of properties only to buy successfully.
And with lead-in time, start going to open homes, because you get this double whammy effect where if you've actually been in that property, you've quizzed the agent, and then you wait to see it sell. There's 2 ends of the spectrum then that you're observing, having been in the property, having been told a story or two, and then seeing the final outcome.
Absolutely. I think that's a brilliant thing to add to that tip.
We help to break down real estate every day to help you better understand the Australian property market. You're listening to the Saturday Property Market Update.
And it is a Real Estate Saturday. Hope you've got a very busy weekend when it comes to property lined up. And yes, let's get to this question, Paul, about what vendors really look for when they're reviewing agents, because this is not easy. They've really got to be organised. Not all vendors are, of course, but what do you think the main things are that they look for?
Look, most vendors, in my experience, naturally focus on price and commission. The difference comes down to trust, communication, ability and strategy. When interviewing agents, some of the questions worth asking include, will I be dealing with you for the entire campaign or will it be handed off to an assistant? Do they generally understand my home and the buyer profile it appeals to? Have they clearly explained their approach and how they plan to maximise the result? Does their track record reflect their own actual sales? Or is it just showing sales made by others in the office? Is the price guide supported by real evidence and analysis, not just an inflated figure to win a listing? Craig, the property data is the property data, so there shouldn't be much variance between different agents' market opinion. The difference in the final outcome is from the agent's ability, experience and expertise, not from the promise about achieving a particular price. And look, be very cautious of any agent who uses phrases like I promise or I guarantee when talking about your home, what your home will sell for. And always, Craig, remember the golden rule. The only guarantee in real estate is there are no guarantees.
Yes, it's a good saying, that one. And in just a moment, I'll ask you how the Blue Mountains is performing as we lead and roll into the Christmas New Year. Before that, I want to ask you about the technology, because we were talking about the boutique versus these large franchises. So has the technology erased the traditional advantages between the two? What do you think?
It really has. Look, in the past, major franchises held a clear advantage thanks to their large advertising footprints and also the limited availability of property information. Even locating recent sales data once required quite a bit of effort. Today, technology and the major real estate portals have completely leveled the playing field. Every listing appears on the same platform, side by side, regardless of the size of the agency, which means inquiry is driven by the quality of the campaign and the agent, not the brand behind it. Technology has also shifted the role of the agent. Buyers can now access market analysis, compare suburb values, view neighbouring listings, research council information on planned developments, and read reviews about the listing agent, all within minutes. Where 70 to 90% of buyers come, from the city metro area, and around 95% of those search using the two major portals. It's unrealistic to expect a person will travel all the way up to the mountains to browse a window display looking for their dream home, then hoping the listing agent happens to be in the office at the time to arrange an inspection. Modern technology has made both possible and achievable. And remember, look, brands don't sell real estate, people do. So choosing the right agent matters far more than the brand they happen to be working for.
As I mentioned, it is November the 29th. We are in the run-up mode to Christmas and the New Year. Just how busy are you at the moment and looking ahead and beyond into January?
Look, a lot of sales have happened. There's a few. I listed one this week, actually, which is the first open happening today. It's a first home buyer delight on at 7 to 750. There's already been 30-odd inquiries, so I'm expecting that open today to be very, very big, probably sell within the week. Others now, it's kind of holding things back, early January start, but it's been, sensational. Right across the price gamuts from 2.3 million was the highest, down to this one today, which will be 750. There's a lot of buyer activity up here in the mountains, and that is extremely good news.
All right, Paul, you have yourself a fantastic weekend. Good luck with your property and the run-up to Christmas. And thanks again for coming on to the Real Estate Breakfast this morning.
Thanks again, Craig. Good to be with you.
Explore new property destinations where you could live with exclusive interviews covering real estate news and market insights.
Well, look, across the board, if you look at arrears starting off at a high level, at a national level, are still quite low at below 1%. But obviously this performance does vary if you look across the states.
Now we get to this all-important suburb breakdown. So I guess people listening, they don't want to hear their suburb come up, but they might be feeling it. So give us those suburbs that are really feeling it with the arrears around the country at the moment.
So look, this list is calibrated quarterly, and it's the 10 worst performing postcodes by arrears across the country. What we've noticed, certainly in the last 12 to 18 months, is that this top 10 postcode list has tended to be dominated by Victorian and New South Wales, or rather Sydney and Melbourne postcodes, and particularly in outer fringes or suburban areas or more your mortgage belt areas.
We connect you to the best real estate information across Australia. The Real Estate Podcast.